Baphomet, historical origins, symbolism, and modern interpretations. Historical origins of Baphomet. The name Baphomet first appears in records of the First Crusade. In a 1098 letter, Crusader Anselm of Reimagined wrote that the Muslim Turks called loudly upon Baphomet during the siege of Antioch. Britannica.com. Most scholars interpret this as a French corruption of Muhammad, i.e. Muhammad, rather than a separate deity. Medieval chronicles confirm that Crusaders used Baphomet as a term for the Prophet Muhammad or for Islamic idols. For example, troubadour poems and chronicles refer to mosques as Baphomeria, temples of Baphomet. In other words, early uses of Baphomet did not describe a goat demon, but reflected Christian Europeans' perception of Islam as idolatrous. Over time, this word would take on a life of its own. Baphomet and the Knights Templar. Baphomet's infamy truly began with the Knights Templar in the early 14th century. In 1307, King Philip IV of France had the Templars arrested and accused them of heresy, including the idolatrous worship of a mysterious head called Baphomet. Philip's Inquisition leveled over 100 charges, many identical to past accusations against heretical sects, claiming the Templars spat on the cross, practiced obscene rituals, and revered a pagan idol. Under torture, some Templars confessed that they had indeed worshipped an idol. Descriptions of this Baphomet idol varied wildly. Different confessions described a severed head, a bearded head with multiple faces, or even a cat. One French Templar said his superior showed him an idol called Baphomet. Another described a head on a wooden base, kissed its feet, and cried, Yallah, Arabic for God. Notably, a Florentine Templar testified that the idol was called Muhammad and told his brothers, "Adore this head is your God and your Muhammad." These testimonies suggest that Baphomet was used as a derogatory accusation linking the Templars to Muhammad worship, casting them as secret apostates. Most historians now doubt that the Templars genuinely worshipped any such figure. The confessions were extracted under duress, and no physical idol was ever produced. The Chinon parchment, discovered in the Vatican archives, even indicates the Templars' supposed idol worship, and blasphemies may have been staged initiation rites. A form of psychological training in case knights were captured by Muslim forces and forced to apostasy. In any case, the Baphomet accusations served Philip IV's purpose. The Templar order was condemned and dissolved by 1312, with many knights executed by burning. The legend of Baphomet, the devil idol, was thus born out of the Templars' persecution. It went largely dormant for centuries until occultists resurrected and reimagined Baphomet in the 19th century. Occult and esoteric symbolism. Éliphas Lévi's Baphomet. In 1856, French occultist Éliphas Lévi published Dogme et Rituel de la Haute Magie, Dogma and Ritual of High Magic, reviving Baphomet as an esoteric symbol. Lévi introduced the now iconic Sabbatic Goat illustration of Baphomet, which has since become a cornerstone of occult imagery. Lévi's Baphomet, 1856. The Sabbatic Goat. Lévi depicted Baphomet as a winged, goat-headed humanoid with an androgynous body, a female torso, with breasts, combined with a caduceus, two entwined serpents, in the groin area to symbolize a phallus. A flaming torch rises between the goat's horns, and a pentagram sits upon its forehead. Baphomet's right hand points upward and left hand downward in the occult, as above, so below gesture, with the words solve, separate, and coagula, joined together, inscribed on the arms. In Lévi's explanation, one arm is male and the other female. The raised and lowered hands correspond to a white crescent moon above and a black crescent below, signifying the harmony of opposites, mercy and justice, light and dark. The figure thus embodies duality and balance, human and animal, male and female, angelic and demonic, a unification of all contrasts in nature. Lévi intended Baphomet not as a literal demon to worship, but as a symbol of the absolute and of occult philosophy. Every element carried meaning. The torch between the horns represents the flame of intelligence, or divine enlightenment rising above the material world. The goat's animal features and scaly lower half represent base material nature, the horror of sin, while the human and celestial features represent the higher spiritual nature. The caduceus in place of genitals signifies reconciliation of opposites and eternal life, and the figure's breasts affirm its human aspect. In Levi's words, Baphomet symbolized the equilibrium of opposites and the universal balance of creation. He identified it with the goat of Mendes, referring to ancient Egyptian goat deity Banabjetit that embodied fertility and the union of four primal gods, life and death, earth and air. He also linked Baphomet to pagan archetypes like Pan and the Gnostic Abraxas, seeing it as a representation of the astral light or magical force in nature. It is important to note that Levi largely invented this Baphomet imagery. The goat-headed, hermaphroditic figure was not described in the medieval Templar trials at all. Levi was inspired by earlier occult speculation, such as esoteric theories that Baphomet meant baptism of wisdom, or encoded the Gnostic goddess Sophia via Enetbash cipher, and by grotesque images from Hermetic and alchemical traditions. Regardless, Levi's Baphomet struck a chord. It unveiled what he called the Sphinx of medieval terrors, transforming the dreaded idol into a profound occult allegory. This image was so striking that it soon took on a life of its own, widely assumed to be the Baphomet. Later, occultists eagerly adopted and reinterpreted it. For example, British occultist Aleister Crowley, who took Baphomet as his initiatory name in the Ordo Templi Orientis, incorporated Baphomet into his thelemic rituals. In Crowley's Gnostic Mass Creed, Baphomet is hailed as the mystery of mysteries, and he described Baphomet as a divine androgyne and the hieroglyph of arcane perfection, representing the mystic union of opposites, especially through sexual alchemy in his sex magic theories. Thus, thanks to Levi and his successors, Baphomet evolved into a potent occult symbol of hidden wisdom, harmony, and power far removed from its origins as a smear against heretics. Modern reinterpretations and uses of Baphomet, from conspiracy to counterculture, 19th century recastings. After Levi, Baphomet made scandalous reappearances in the late 19th century, often as a symbol in conspiracy theories. In the 1890s, French anti-Masonic agitator Leo Taxil perpetrated an infamous hoax that claimed Freemasons secretly worshipped the devil Baphomet. Taxil even featured Levi's goat illustration on the cover of his exposé Les Mystères de la Franc-Maçonnerie to reveal Masonic Satanism. The public, and even the Pope, were briefly fooled, until Taxil confessed it was all a satire intended to mock the Church's credulity.